I got the mic here. So definitely an interesting day in the market. And of course, we start off with World War III news, which of course manipulated the market down, V-shaped recovery. And let's be real about it. As my grandfather, who was in the 82nd Airborne in World War II, said, if there's ever a World War III, you don't have to worry about your money or your portfolio because it will no longer exist. Okay, that's just the way it is. If missiles start flying into this country from China or Russia and we start sending missiles over there, so the world we know it does no longer exist. Okay, that's just the way it is. You don't have to worry about that. So just a way for them to manipulate it down. That's what they do with the news and stuff. Okay, so we'll go into that. NVDA, of course, had a huge day. They're reporting earnings after the bell tomorrow. Tesla, a big day. Those two are actually moving in sync, which is kind of interesting. I'll show you something about Palantir. A couple of things actually about that one. I found an article. It was very interesting. Came out about 36 hours ago on that one. What some big hedge fund managers and billionaires are doing on that one. We'll also talk about this rally we had today because it's not what you think, okay? And also where billions of dollars were flowing into last week, and it was into a lagging sector, okay? So maybe they see something coming up, maybe they're rotating into that because I will say this is a much safer sector, that is for sure. And so we'll go into all that fun stuff. Now, a lot of you guys asked about this. Let me clear it up. Yes, there's a Black Friday sale coming on Tradingview. 70% off, 1 month free, all that fun stuff. But the question I always get is going to be coming, I believe, November 25th, is can current people use this, current members, subscribers, and go right on this site. And you can see it right here and read it for yourself. Yes, you can. Feel free to pause this, read this. I do it every year. So yes, you can do that. And as soon as it's live, I'll put a link down in the description for you guys to use, those who support the channel. Really appreciate it. As you know, you don't see me selling products and shoes and wine or anything else on this channel. So, once a year I do this right here because you see me using Tradingview every day. Now, hopefully that answers your questions on that. What really surprised me here was the weekly fund flows. You've seen what underperforming. It's been large caps so far. And yet where'd all the money go last week? 27 billion in the large caps. And so that one really surprised me. You see bonds. Nope. Nothing happening right there. You saw a little bit, smittens going to small caps, mid caps. And so maybe that might be a sign, you might see like you did today, and I'll show you the big boys waking up. We'll have to see, but I'll show you what I'm talking about on that. Now, one of my favorite setups still is Square. You can see it's right here. It's a Tradingview indicator that it has an inverse head and shoulders that could play out all the way up there at around 130-ish, somewhere in there. You can see this level. It's trying to peek its head above it. Doesn't mean it officially broke out, but it's trying to peek its head above it and everything. FinTech has obviously been doing extremely well, as we have seen so far. And so this is definitely one to keep an eye on. Again, it's got its golden cross where the 50 is crossing over the 100. But this has been an underperformer. It's like one of our members said, and I've showed you this in the past. The question is it going to reattach itself to Bitcoin? Because remember, they hold Bitcoin. This stock that I showed you many times used to move just like the Bitcoin chart. And so we'll see if that's what they're going to do. Another thing to look at here is you can tell this is a breakout compared to SPY. And I just did a whole members video on this for these guys to look at this. And it's a great tool to use to spot which stocks and sectors are outperforming the market now. And you can see it right here. I can look at that chart. You've been doing this long enough and go, wow, that was like a trend line breakout right there. Sure does. There it is. So, FinTech is outperforming SPY. Square is outperforming SPY. And it just shows you kind of where you want to put your money and stuff. But it was a cool video I put together for them. And it's a nice tool to use, okay? Now, looking at one of the top performers today, obviously, once again, Tesla, the dips keep getting bought up. Again, we didn't break yesterday's high, did we? No, but those levels are still being very well respected. And again, even if, because some people got upset when I put a channel on this thing, even if this thing starts trading in a channel, let me show you something very interesting. Again, this thing can break out tomorrow, going up. I didn't see, NVIDIA was kind of sucking up the volume on the options and stuff like that today. That's why it was up like almost 5%. But even if it goes in this channel right here, that's not a bad thing, right? It's had an enormous move. And when you look at that, look at this carefully. Pause this and tell me, what would that be? If this channel was filled out, what would you call that? For me, I would call it a bull flag. I would say, okay, that's not bearish at all. And they usually break to the upside, right? And so that's not a bad thing. It gives the chance to move and averages to catch up. Again, this has been an enormous move in a very short amount of time. Okay, and remember, this isn't like all of a sudden they started selling robots and got autonomous driving going. This is just strictly the relationship between Trump and Elon Musk, right? So as long as that's going good, it's good. Hopefully there's no problems, between those two or anything. But that's, really what this is. And so again, you got people buying 400 calls, for crying out loud, calling for this thing to go to 400 by year end. And so, you know, could it happen? Absolutely could happen. I mean, there's no doubt. But again, if this fills out, that just happened to happen right there. As long as it stays above 300, the bulls are still in charge. All right. So that's not unfeasible. Again, this isn't fundamental. This isn't like the revenue went up. Matter of fact, the revenue will go down most likely. I'm talking about as far as like if the credit goes away, but now their revenue's not going down. They're going to continue to grow revenue. But part of that revenue they've been reporting every, you know, quarter is going to go away most likely next year, right? And so, but again, it's going to kill the competitors more than it is Tesla. But I'm just telling you, it's not a bad thing. And people act like consolidating or filling out a bull flag is terrible. It's just not, man. It really isn't. Especially if you're a long-term, you know, shareholder and you've traded Tesla or been in Tesla, you know dang well the moves it makes, right? Now, Palantir here, again, we talked about this yesterday. This is one of the scenarios coming up in this fair value gap right here. It's 4-hour fair value gap. That's where it got froze today. Would it come back down and break 58.86? Now, and again, what are we looking at? We're looking for the lower high. That will tell us something. If we do a lower high and then break that, that means we're going to form a lower low, right? And there might be a move down. Now, when you look at this right here, there's an indicator in Tradingview you can use right here. Just type in head and shoulders, and guess what? Boom, right? It pops up. There it is. Sometimes not this perfect, but there you go. Right, that will be your target it'll give you and everything else. Don't mean this has to play out. It can just break right above that fair value gap. Keep on going, right? If that's what if that's what's going to happen with this market, if NVIDIA just lights the market on fire and all the stocks just start roaring and here we go, it's, you know, 1976 or whatever, you know, year all over again, or 2020, 2021, whatever. And so it gives you the target and everything. One thing I found very interesting about Palantir though is that you got these hedge fund managers, billionaires, right? Like these guys selling out of like 90% of position, 100% of position, and buying the iShares Bitcoin Trust, because you can guarantee these folks have been up so big. And I don't know when they made this sell, whatever, but this article was out literally like 24 hours ago, and they're all going into the same thing, right? And the Israel Englander was pretty interesting because he actually runs the second most profitable hedge fund in history. And so I found that to be, you know, somewhat interesting. But you got to remember, when they're up big like that, they're not trying to call a top or nothing. They're just taking it and rolling into the next hottest thing. Okay, but I'm just letting you be aware of what they have been doing. Okay, now when it comes to NVIDIA, look at that daily candle. Woo! Man, oh man, got back above that trend line. If we bring in the 21, make sure it's 21. It is. You can use a 20 as well if you like to. You know, so back above that 21. Again, I'm not going to like spend much time on this chart because they report earnings, right? Tomorrow after the bell. And so there's no point in going, well, here and there and it bounced, whatever. It's just this simple. Boom. If the market likes earnings, this puppy's going to break 150. And then we'll draw a fib on this to try to actually show you exactly where it can go. And as you can see, above that 154, above that 158, and then 161, as you can see on the fib extensions. If obviously the market says, nope, don't like it, going to sell it down, watch for 135 to hold, okay? That'll be a nice big drop. Now, real quick on the indexes, you can see where we stopped right here. It was the anchor VWAP from election day, right? That big gap up. That's where we got the stop at today on SPY. You can see it's still holding 585, 70. Matter of fact, when you actually zoom in on this thing real quick, I'll show you. It was the exact same level, almost to the penny, that it stopped at the other day, right there, 583.88, both days now, and it got a nice pop after they tried to like scare us to death of World War III and stuff. And so again, we get above that. That is super bullish to get above that. Qs, and again, maybe this is it, right? That strike, and that will hit right there and bounce off that trend line, almost filling that election gap. Maybe that's it, okay? But right now, what you're looking at is there's your low, there's a high. There's a higher low, and so we're going to see if they continue to push this thing up after NVIDIA earnings right there. But right now, it did not break down below that trend line. It did not set that lower high, at least on the daily chart right there. When you go over here to IWM, maybe I'm not going to get what I wanted. I told you guys I want this thing to come down around that shade area right there. Maybe they're going to screw me out of this one. But, you know, I was just being greedy anyway, to be honest with you. But at least fill that gap. And we'll see, because IWM kind of does its own thing versus the Qs and SPY and everything like that. So again, if the 10-year yield starts popping off again, then, you know, this thing will come down. If not, then maybe it starts to rip from here. We'll see. Now understand, this move up today wasn't like, oh, a lot of stocks were involved. No, because the RSP, the equal weight ETF for SPY, was red. It was 0.27%, right? And then, you know, you can see it can't get quite above that trend line. And then there's the QQEW up 0.09%. I'm actually going to adjust that trend line because obviously they're trying to tell me that's what we're bouncing from. So I'm going to put that right there. But again, still below 128.63 right there, which needs to get above. But you can see, what was it? It was all about the big boys. Microsoft, Apple, Google, Meta. I mean, they're all freaking green today, right? And when NVIDIA's up 5%, woo, boy. You know, and then you also have Tesla up 2, almost 3% of the day because they rarely move together like that. Yeah, you know what time it is. It's not equal weighted ETF time, okay? Now, you might have noticed in there, SMCI was up like 30%. And I love this chart here. This is that fear monger, the fear chart, you know, where everything just crashes and burns. Maybe this is a return to the mean. I'm not sure. And so, you know, that will put it around like 55. But what happened was they got an auditor. Woo! Good job, SMCI. You got an auditor. That's great, man. Understand, this ain't over, right? That auditor can come in, look at those books and say, yeah, something's going on here, man. I'm going to need more time, which means they might have to delay again. And if they have to delay again, what do you think is going to happen to that stock? You think people are going to be like, let me buy it up because they're delaying because their auditor says he needs to figure something out. The other thing is, what happens if they come out and say, yeah, man, the way they account for all these sales and revenues is off. We need to lower guidance. We need to lower this and all that fun stuff. So it's not out of the woods, right? But again, we know how people love to push this market up and bankrupt companies go crazy and stuff. And so again, it's up 65% since they got the auditor. If it keeps going up, if it gets above 30, 80, somewhere in there, you're going to fill this gap right here, and most likely it's going higher. Okay, that's just the way it is. And so we'll see, because again, the auditor's going to take time. He's going to take time. They're going to take time to come in there and start looking at these books. Now, one of you guys asked about this, Mr. Here's why I don't talk about Mr. One, I'm not a crypto channel. I don't try to pretend to be something I'm not. Two is, I rarely see a chart I don't know what to do with. And again, I'm happy for anybody that's been riding this thing up. I think it's fantastic, okay? But with this one, I mean, even trying to find like support, resistance, and I mean, look at this thing. When it goes parabolic, it goes parabolic. And right now, that thing is parabolic. I mean, when Bitcoin's going to the moon, it's going to the moon, right? Right along with it. You know, MicroStrategy, they're buying crazy amounts of Bitcoin. They're raising money to buy more Bitcoin. Supposedly, somebody told me, one of the members said the miners are actually starting to follow Mr. and they're raising money just to buy Bitcoin and stuff like that. But when you look at it, another reason I don't do this is because when something's like this, I don't want to mention it because I know somebody's going to try to buy this thing and all of a sudden it crashes down. They're going to be flipping out and whatever. And say, oh my God, you know. But when you look at it, I like to have charts where I can actually find some support and everything and retracements and this, that, and the other. But also the fact that it relies on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin all of a sudden drops over the weekend 20%, Monday morning, Mr.'s going to be way down, right? Now, will it bounce? Sure, most likely, for sure, right? Because we're in this cycle now, for sure. But I mean, you can see this thing can drop quick, 25, 30%, very quick. Just it kind of moves in a way like Bitcoin, right? And so some people buy this versus actually buying Bitcoin when you look at the moves of it. But again, you look at that trend line, there's one for you. Well, we're way away from that. So if it comes down, maybe you hit that right there. Maybe you don't, you know. When you come back into, you know, just looking at other cycles and stuff, I mean, you can see you can get these trend lines drawn to where you're hitting multiple points, and then when it breaks, you know, the party's over, right? Usually you'll get a break, a retest, and it'll drop. That's what I noticed about this chart and everything. And I know you're not asking about the past, but when I chart something, I do like to look at the past because, you know, the past doesn't rhyme. I'm sorry, yeah, the past doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. That's the saying I like to go with on that one. Looking at this, you know, we'll try to go over to the daily and stuff, and if you want to look and say, well, you know, where's some support? Maybe right here, 327, somewhere in there. You know, it's bounced there before. If I pull a fib on it, right, and I come down, where can I get a discount at? Right there around 384 is where the discount starts from today's price. But if it continues to go up, right, that's going to change. And so, you know, I would definitely say this: watch out for what goes on with Bitcoin this weekend. Okay, there's a reason for that. Pull up the chart, you know, look at it, see what you think. And when things go like this, I mean, you're due for a pullback. Even crypto pulls back. We've seen it. And when it pulls back, a lot of times it is over the weekend. You'll see a nice drop. And the truth is, in order to have a next move up, that's what usually you need to happen. So again, you know, when I look at this, you know, I like to try to attach past tops to current tops, all that stuff, but it's just so far gone above that. It's amazing. So again, happy for anybody riding this up. Fantastic. Go enjoy a nice vacation. Buy your, you know, significant other a dinner. Buy your kids college fund, give them a college fund or something out of this. But I don't look at many charts and feel I go, wow, I don't know what to do with that one. I don't know what to do with that. I mean, seriously. I mean, you look at that thing, look at the day. You know, it just an amazing day, and it just kept going up and up to the very end of the day. It just kept grinding and grinding. And one of the reasons is the interesting thing about this one is the fact that you wonder why miners are doing bad, and I wrote this in our Discord today, is because there's two games in town. It's Mr. and Coin. So why in the world would you play the miners, right? They're doing nothing they're way behind compared to Mr. and Coin. It's because of the options market. I mean, the premiums are whoo, right? I mean, they're amazing. They're buying options and buying just straight leg call options all day long, and then they'll come down a little bit and they'll get right back in them and ride them up. And they're expensive, but you know, that's what they're doing. So yeah, I wish I could help out on that one, but I just got to, I got to know my lane, and that just isn't my lane. So let me know in the comments, what you think and stuff. Now, when it comes to earnings tomorrow, obviously we got some important ones. You got NEO in the morning, you got Target, Walmart hung the moon this morning. Maybe Target will as well. TJX, then of course NVDA, Snowflake, Palo Alto is going to report. And so some pretty big ones tomorrow. No news to worry about, so don't worry about that at all. Just relax on that front. We'll have some Thursday. So I hope you got something out of it. Please hit the like, subscribe button if you did. Think about signing up for the membership, which I know a lot of you do, and I really appreciate it. Let me know if I can do anything for you. Less than a McDonald's combo, and that's all you get with it. And I'll end up seeing you guys for another fun one. Let me know what you think NVIDIA is going to be doing tomorrow.